La Cruise. I am working on a documentary film by the name of In the Shadow of Little Rock, The Life of Daisy Bates. I started working on the film in about 2004. I journeyed to Arkansas on a journey of discovery to find out who Daisy Bates was and what her life was like when she was alive. I had discovered Daisy Bates several years before in 1997 at a photo exhibit for a book called I Dream a World, the portraits of black women who changed America. Among those 75 photographs was Daisy Bates standing with her arms crossed in front of Central High School. I found her story of tragedy, that being the loss of her mother when she was a baby. Her mother had been raped and murdered by white men in the town that Daisy grew up of Huttig, Arkansas. And from Huttig, Arkansas, Daisy was able to carve out a life for herself and find her way to Little Rock, Arkansas, where she became the leader of the movement that desegregated Central High in 1957. And that journey that she took from that tragedy as a child to the woman she became is what fascinated me about her the most, and that's why I started working on the film on her life in 2004. Something about her story really resonates with me, and I think, something about the child not knowing who they are and losing their mother so young. I guess even if you've never experienced it, you understand that's a loss that can never be filled, and that's a hole and a void in her that can never be filled. So I really connected to that. So I admire her, and I admire her accomplishments because she did a lot with a lot less than obviously I've had. You know, she's had a much harder life than I have had. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of films on television about people of color. Certainly not that represents our population, you know. So that's a struggle. That's an uphill struggle to see which entity will pick it up. And, you know, so my first thing is to get it broadcast, and it's to do the circuits. And I really want to have an extensive website that can deal with women in the movement and educate, you know, people on the women in the movement and their accomplishments. Not just Daisy Bates, but all of her sisters in the movement. I think that would be a great tribute to her. So those are the main things for me, is to get it on air. I think the film, when it's completed, will be critical to telling another aspect of the civil rights movement. Most people have a very hard time naming any female activists in the civil rights movement outside of Rosa Parks. I think in telling Daisy's story, we can open a dialogue again about these women and their accomplishments. She actually led the charge into Central High that desegregated that school. So that makes her story very, very special, and a story that needs to be told to a wider audience. I guess I'm hoping that they fall in love with Daisy Bates. I'm hoping they find her as fascinating as I obviously do, because I've been spending almost 4 years of my life with her. So I want them to walk away thinking, wow, that's some incredible woman, and I wish I had known her. That's my aspirations. I want, you know, in particular, school kids to look at the film. I think Daisy's life is testament to the fact that especially as we reach adulthood, for children, they should know that even if they have tragic childhoods, because it doesn't get any worse than her childhood, is that you don't have to be defined by the circumstances of your birth, and your life doesn't have to stop. The great thing about her is she defied all the rules of who would be considered a hero by the standards that our societies usually decide. She doesn't fit the prototype of who should be a hero, and I think that should be a lesson to people as well. And I'd like that to be a lesson to kids, that despite the circumstances of their lives and their births and their childhood, that they too could be Daisy Bates, that anybody could be a Daisy Bates. You know, if you see a wrong, that you could step in and say, I think this is wrong, and I'm willing to fight that fight. And I think that's what makes her really special, is that, yeah, she wasn't born to greatness, but she certainly, you know, did become this great person.